Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty, and today we're going to look at Out of Alcatraz. It's another Own Your Press book, and Own Your Press have been putting out some bangers recently, so I was more than happy to give this one a shot, coupled with the fact that it's Christopher Cantwell and Tyler Crook on it. Now, however, even those two people involved, this wasn't one that I was, hugely excited over, simply because it felt like it was going to be a crime story. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If people have been following my videos and my reviews for a long time will know that I have shifted from just not having hardly any time whatsoever for crime fiction to actually realising there is some benefit to this style of storytelling, and if done well, particularly in the noir area, I can find myself really enjoying it. No, the reason this one didn't really register as something that I was going to genuinely look forward to was because Christopher Cantwell, the very first thing I read of his was She Could Fly, which is this fantastic bit of almost magical realism with a absolutely deeply disturbing undercurrent to it all, almost horrific in its way. Maybe that's down to the artwork as well, but it was definitely something which made it stand out on something as being unusual, creepy, captivating in its own way. Tyler Crook, first thing I encountered with him was Harrow County, pretty much my favourite comic book horror story ever. I really do enjoy it. I think the artwork is fantastic, and his sense of being able to make it look almost realistic. Stylized, certainly, but not comic-y, not caricature-y. But then when we do have those weird things of American Gothic horror coming into it, it feels more challengingly weird because of how naturalized everything else looks. So with those two creators doing something which is taking what I believe might be a historical event and putting their own fictional spin on it, I was like, well, this just feels like it's kind of safe for the two of them. The event in question is some people who escaped from Alcatraz, but their bodies were never found, and it's a story of what happens if they actually didn't drown, but they survived. And I say maybe historical. I think I've seen something about this story before, but I don't know if it's just a common trope in storytelling that other people have done, or it is literally something which has happened which is so intriguing that other fiction writers have put their own thing on it to make it more interesting than it was, which is fine. I'm not the fiction police. I'm not going to say you can't do that or that more than one person can't do the same thing, but it doesn't feel like the kind of out there storytelling which I think these two creators, when working together, could be able to do. And when I first started flicking through it, I was like, oh, but this is so good. Because it really is. Very early on, we have this absolutely hectic escape of them in, I think, San Francisco Bay. I could be wrong on this one. I'm not entirely sure my American geography. And the page layouts are all kind of askew and weird and confusing. The kind of stuff which I've not seen done as effectively since I started reading Something is Killing the Children, and that did it so effectively. I still talk about that to comic book fans now. So to see that mastery of form, to show this terrifying moment where you don't know what's happening from one moment to the next, or even where everyone particularly is in relation to you, just through your page layouts, brilliantly done. The following page, absolutely fantastic, double page spread of this moment of calm, where they're just grabbing their breath, and it is beautiful. We've got the Golden Gate Bridge captured in a floodlight, lights in the moonlight reflecting on the black waters at night, the shadows and the graininess of the sand. In fact, the texture that varies between the night sky, the sea, and the sand all feels like if you run your thumb over it, it would feel different to each of those, and that is impressive work. It feels far more naturalistic than most colouring I see, and I've said this before, I don't necessarily want to say that I know that this is done by hand, because there are texture packs you can get online which make digital colouring look absolutely brilliant. But even if it is that, it shows just a really good control over it to make it feel like this is a natural thing which is put together because of how much passion you put into it. There's also multiple bits through the rest of the comic book where we have that rise and fall of tempo and stress, and he does change up his layouts and his colour palette when we hit those kind of stressful moments. It's really quite cool because it gives that sense of never been quite sure of your footing. And that also comes down to writing. I'm going to give props to Cantwell for this one. There is a very tense story. I think there's only really one bit of something going wrong, which I thought I saw coming, and that simply comes down to the fact that there was a person of colour in American history, i.e. any point in American history, and there's kind of an inevitability that something's going to go wrong, but it still felt brutal and unrelenting, and there was still a cessation of that instance, which, if anything, made it worse than I thought it was going to be. Really, really good, and fantastic characters as well. Not just through script, but also we get a sense of the relationships people have with each other, some of which I think are going to develop in very, very interesting ways. And there's pretty good world building. Doesn't get too far into it, but we do get a sense of more happening behind the scenes of this very daring exploit, and I can't wait to see how this is all going to play out. I am actually intrigued. Because, yes, this is a crime thing, it's criminals escaping, but it is far more in terms of the drama of the people engaged in it. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. I want character-driven first. If the story hangs off it is brilliant as well, and it looks as good as it does, then, yeah, I'm sold, I'm in. Can't wait to see what happens next. That's it for me for now. Until I see you all again, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!